It's a busy weekday in 1955, and in this video we're going to focus on the comings and goings of freight operations at Worksop Sidings. We begin with a J50 tank engine from Doncaster, hauling a general goods over the South Yorkshire joint line to Worksop. She joins the main line at Brancliffe Junction, but she's going west on the eastbound line. This section of the up main line is signalled for bidirectional or reverse running, which allows trains to run west down the eastbound line through Worksop Station and into the sidings. Once arrived, the J50 is relieved of her train by the yard shunting engine, which starts to sort the incoming wagons. Meanwhile, the engine goes to the layover sidings to put on some water and coal and to allow the crew to get a much needed cuppa in the mess cabin. The J50 was a powerful 060 tank engine designed by Sir Nigel Gresley for short trip local goods and shunting. Built in 1939, 68987 was allocated to Doncaster Shed and may well have taken the trip from the various Doncaster yards on the short journey to Worksop. The South Yorkshire branch is signalled by the left-hand starter signal. The signal post is shorter than the one for the main line, denoting that the branch is a secondary route. Approaching from the west of Worksop, we see one of Sheffield's allocation of Ivet Class 4s. The Worksop yard shunter has already prepared the next Sheffield-bound train and starts to pull the rake of wagons out of the yard. She'll wait at the signal until the Ivet enters the yard, and the signalman at Shire Oaks East can tell the signal at Worksop that the line is clear. Originally built for the LMS, the Ivet was designed for medium freight work and secondary passenger services. They were so successful they were used as the basis for the British Railways Standard Class 4 that was introduced in the early 50s. Meanwhile, back at the eastern end of the yard, the shunter gets the green and she can move on to the main line as far as the next signal. Once the Ivet is uncoupled from the inbound train, she can follow the shunter onto the main line and couple up to her new rake of wagons. Then she gets the right away from the reverse starter at the western end of Worksop Station and she can cross over onto the westbound or down main line. Wagons that don't have brakes operated by the locomotive were called unfitted, and an unfitted freight would normally be limited to run at just 30 miles an hour, and there's a passenger train due. So the Shire Oaks East signalman sends the train into the Sandhole loop so the faster train can pass. After a few moments, a Sheffield-bound B1 with a rake of Mark I coaches thunders through. Once the signals are set, the Ivet is soon on its way back to Sheffield. Whilst we wait for the next train, let's have a closer look at Worksop Sidings. This was an intermediate marshalling yard, where engines from a variety of locations would bring their trains. Once arrived, the wagons would be sorted by the local shunting engine, and then the visiting engine would take back a new train. Each wagon was given a waybill showing its origin and its destination, as well as the consignee, and Worksop was a busy destination in its own right. Some of the visiting wagons were destined for the local goods yard. Once received into the sidings and sorted, Worksop-bound freight would be pushed into the goods yard for loading and unloading. An ex-Midland Railway 060 tender engine heads up a mixed freight from Mansfield. She gets the signal for Shire Oaks Junction and crosses the Sheffield-Cleethorpes main line into Worksop Sidings. This Henry Fowler designed 4F was a common sight in the days of steam and was allocated to many of the sheds in our region. Right behind the engine of this train are 3 fruit vans loaded with bananas. These vans were insulated and fitted with steam heating pipes on the ceilings and adjustable ventilators to allow the ripening process to continue en route. They were usually marshalled directly behind the engine so they could connect to the locomotive steam heating pipes normally used to keep passenger coaches warm. The 4F pulls the heated vans off the rest of the train and the shunter goes back to collect the remainder. She drops the brake van off first and then pushes a Sheffield-bound low-fit flat wagon off in Road 3. The remaining 2 vans are destined for Worksop and they'll be pushed into the goods shed later. The 4F and its attendant banana vans shunts onto Road 2 to make up the front end of the next Immingham-bound departure. Robinson J11 64311 approaches Worksop from Immingham. She gets the right-hand secondary route signal which takes her over the crossover onto the up platform through Worksop Station and onto the sidings. The J11 is another 060 tender engine, this time built for the Great Central Railway. She's less powerful and an older design than the Midland Railway's Fowler, but there were still a lot of these about our area as this is very much Great Central territory. Amongst her wagons is a truck loaded with coke and another of scrap for Thomas W. Ward. Wards were a Sheffield steel and engineering business which began life as humble coal and coke merchants and then expanded to recycling metal for Sheffield's steel industry. By 1953, Wards employed 11,500 people. The J11 pulls onto the reception sidings and the shunter scurries up behind to pull the wagons up the head shunt and out of the way. The shunter is an 060 British Railways Class 8 based on an LMS design. The Pioneer locomotive entered service in 1953 and production continued until 1962 with 996 locomotives produced, making it the most numerous of all British Railways locomotive classes. The J11 moves on to the layover point for water and a quick cuppa for the crew. Then she pulls back to the head shunt as well, and the 4F finally disconnects from the banana vans as it's her turn for a drink for both engine and crew. The bananas don't get much chance to get cold though, as the J11 is connected up in no time and then draws the entire rake off the siding. The signal comes off and she's out of the yard and onto the up main line. The shunter pushes the Wards wagons onto Road 3 to add them to the next Sheffield train. The 3 vans are bound for Nottingham, so they're marshalled onto Road 1, ready for the next Mansfield engine. The guard's van is for Sheffield, so the 08 shuffles back to number 3 road, connects the brake and pulls the whole lot off the sidings. Break time's over and the fully refreshed 4F crew follows its train out of the yard. Easy does it as the 4F connects up tender first. This is another unfitted service, so it's slow and steady to take the slack out of those loose couplings and let the weight of the train come on slowly. Once the platform's clear, the 08 can rumble back into the yard and over to the service area. It's her turn for a well-earned brew for her driver. Over on the main line, the 4F rattles past on her way back to Sheffield.